Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Todd Scholl, Professional Practice and Policy Fellow with the SCEA.
And I'm Amy Carter. I'm the 2022 South Carolina Teacher of the Year.
And we are at the CERRA's Fall Renewal Conference for their pre-collegiate instructors. So all the middle school teachers who teach pro team and the high school teachers who teach teacher cadets and the college partners who support our programs. We are here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for the conference. And I caught up with Amy, and she and I have had some great conversations, and I thought I would ask her a little bit about, first of all, congratulations.
Thanks.
What an amazing accomplishment and honor to be the State Teacher of the Year. We have like 50,000 teachers, and you have been identified as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
you. So let's talk about, I know like in your role, you're going to talk a lot about teacher leadership. Going from the classroom into this role as a high-profile teacher leader, what does teacher leadership mean to you, and how do you plan on sort of supporting and developing teacher leaders in our state?
So one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately, especially talking to young teachers, pre-service teachers, teaching fellows, is that I think a lot of times it's easy to feel alone in our classrooms, to feel boxed away from everyone else, especially over the last 18 months. But one of the most powerful things about what we do is that our voices really do matter, that we are in the trenches per se, and the stories that we have to tell are powerful stories. So I think that a lot of good leadership comes with coming to the table, and even if you have to, to follow that metaphor, have your own table and invite people to it. So a lot of my own leadership kind of started from just reaching out and having conversations with administration and school board members and parents, and really showing them the picture of what my classroom looks like on a day-to-day basis. And when they hear these really powerful stories, they're more inclined to say, oh, I never realized that. What do you need? How can it be better? How can we all come together to serve children? Because I don't think at the end of the day there are many people interested in doing negative things to children. I think everybody ultimately wants to see them succeed. And so the conversations that we can begin have that ground view of what's real and what's happening in our classrooms. So I'm a big believer in coming to the table and having conversations with people and sharing stories, because stories are powerful.
That's great. I completely agree with that. The people need to know what's going on, and the heroism and the amazing things that are happening in South Carolina classrooms, because sometimes when we don't tell those stories, the only stories they're getting are often stories that are misinformed or just warped views of what's going on.
Right.
Last night we had our legislative agenda town hall, and we talked about the importance of educating people on what's going on, exactly what you just said, advocacy, and then legislation. I want to talk about the advocacy piece and the importance of that. Right now, we know teachers, it's no secret that teachers are struggling, that they're having a real hard time, that working conditions are really, really tough. Talk about the importance of teachers advocating for their profession. Why is that so important that they use their voice and speak collectively about what their needs are, and how legislation could be passed to make their lives easier so that they could be in a better position to help students?
Right. So, going along with that idea of storytelling, if we don't tell the story, somebody else will. And so I think that, telling the real things that are happening in our classrooms and helping people understand that is that first part, but then sharing stories among each other and getting on board with maybe a common, common needs and interest is also part of what makes us as teachers a powerful force to be reckoned with, as it were. We hear a lot about uninterrupted time, We were just talking last night about the podcast from Jennifer Gonzalez about the cult of pedagogy, where she talks about, you have to have a planned time that you're looking forward to. These 5-minute breaks are great, but if we don't know this time is dedicated and is in front of us, then we can't use a surprise 5-minute break to accomplish much. It doesn't feed into our rested selves, who are ready to come back and give our full self to kids. And I think, one of the things about teachers is that we do like to please. We are teacher pleasers ourselves, stereotypically. And so we have to be honest about what we need and really stick to, these needs and requests that we have, and not settle for, a 5-minute break. Those 5-minute breaks are great. Those candy bar surprises are great. But at the end of the day, it needs to be something that's more sustaining, that can contribute to our rested selves, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think teachers oftentimes won't communicate their needs because they're afraid of being perceived as complainers
Right.
or whiners.
Right.
And like you said, they want to please people. They want to be team players. And I think sometimes what's happened is that their good hearts are exploited,
Right.
and they wind up taking on far more than they should.
Right.
And then what's happening is rather than us using a collective voice to create change, a lot of teachers, the way they're coping with it is they're just leaving the profession.
Right.
And that's one of the worst sort of outcomes of all this is we're losing good teachers, and then we're having a hard time recruiting teachers, which is part of the reason why we're here. I mean, we're here at this conference. CERRA is putting on this conference. It's about educator recruitment and retention. And I know next week you have another conference, which is our Teacher Forum conference, which is a lot about teacher retention. Talk about how the importance of speaking up in terms of and connecting that to teacher recruitment and retention.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking a lot about this because I'll be giving a keynote about connections and empowerment. Empowering others is empowering for yourself. We see that with students. When we give students the ability to succeed and we see that light and that spark in their eye, it fuels our own desire to keep coming back to trying to do that more. And so I think when we do that for each other, when we listen to the needs of our neighbor and we realize, we're not alone, like this is a common need among professionals, and then we carry that into a conversation with people who can do something about it, that's where real change lies, I think. And I will say this too, it is so easy to get frustrated and to fall into that tone of frustration.
Yeah.
But I don't think that people respond to that well. Even in our own classrooms, we have to be careful about not letting our emotions, rule the day with students. And in the same way, adults don't respond to that very well. So when we have conversations about what we need, it's really hard to do it sometimes, but we need to come to the table with a desire to help someone understand rather than attack. I think that we live in a world that goes on the attack too much. And so conversation where we pull people in to get them to see our world and carry the tone of what that's like is important.
All right, I'm going to shift gears and put you on the spot and go a little more lighthearted because we've talked a lot about advocacy. Let's talk about what are some of the favorite shows that you've streamed or favorite books that you read since the pandemic started?
Since the pandemic?
Yeah.
So I'm an English teacher by trade, so I'm going to actually not answer your question because sometimes when you read all day for a living, the last thing you want to come home and do is pick up a book. So I will tell you that my pandemic project has been to learn how to use power tools.
Okay.
So I have learned how to build things, and so I built a swing for my backyard. I'm very proud of it. So, nice. But okay, let me go back to your question. Things that we have watched or listened to. So I'm a huge podcast nerd. So I love Serial, the podcast.
Okay.
I also love the educational podcast, so the Cult of Pedagogy definitely ranks up there for me. And there's a new one that I've come across, Brave New Teaching, that seems to be really good. Let's see, something that I've read that would be appropriate to share on Facebook that wouldn't make me look ridiculous. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go with just a leadership book that I love. It's called The Power of Moments. If I had to get teachers to read a book, that would be the book that I would want teachers to read, because it's ultimately about the most important thing that we do, which is connect with students and make them feel like they can learn, because once they feel like they can learn, they will, I think.
Well, Amy, it's a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. And I just, on behalf of everybody at the South Carolina Education Association, congratulations. And we hope you have a wonderful year as Teacher of the Year. We're excited about what you bring to the table, and the messages that you're going to share with our teachers of encouragement during these really difficult times. It's a hard time probably to be the Teacher of the Year, but it's also presents some really unique challenges and opportunities.
Yeah, and a friend of mine, we were just talking about how, we were told we just got to make it through this year. Last year, we were told just get through the year. We've just got to get through the year. And what makes this year especially hard is I think we were all very innocently expecting it to be over, to find that relief. And somebody said it's kind of like running a marathon and then being tapped at the end of that marathon and being told, get up, you got to do it again.
Yeah.
And so it is hard, but the work matters. And if you don't get to every unit, that's okay, because at the end of the day, we are all about being stewards of children.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Amy. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your time as Teacher of the Year, and I will see you again next week at the Teacher Forum Conference. And to everybody who's watching or who will watch, if you are not a member of the SCEA, we invite you to join us. Check out the SCEA.org, and feel free to leave comments for Amy. You can reach out to Amy Carter on Facebook and friend her and follow her journey this year as the South Carolina Teacher of the Year. Again, congratulations. It's great talking to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.